Welcome back to the Business Equation Podcast. I'm Nick Bogacz, your host, and today I have a very special guest, Sean Lowery, the CEO of United Monograms. He sold over $10 million in sales since beginning in his mom's basement 5 years ago. And he's also the host of the podcast, The Sean Lowery Show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Nick. It's an honor. And I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, real excited. You know, the tagline's real short and sweet. Started in your basement, grown it to $10 million in 5 years. I think that's impressive. I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably curious of how you did it and your story. So fill us in.
Ever since I read the book, Think and Grow Rich, since I was about 20 years old. I know. And have you ever read that book?
My favorite book. I've read it 8 or 9 times. And my business, I was 28, delivering pizzas. I read that book. The rest is history.
I feel like that's a common story for a lot of people. That book just lights people up. But ever since I read that book, I was in college at the time, and I was like, all right, I know I want to start my own business. So right after I graduated, I had some sales job, and then one day I just walked out of there on a Monday morning. I was going to try to make it through the week, but I was just like, I got to start up. And I didn't have anything at the time. So I went back to my mom's basement. My only idea I had was t-shirts, because I was going to go back to my college fraternity, start selling shirts. I didn't really have a plan, to be honest. A lot of people talk about the importance of having a very strict business plan right when you get started. But I admit I didn't have that. I just wanted to just start figuring it out and do my own thing and kind of put my back against the wall where I had nothing else to do, nothing holding me back. And I just started. And with a credit card, I got some screen printing equipment in my mom's basement. And it was a fire hazard for sure. It's a small basement, and she lives in the townhouse, with the neighbors connected to it. This was not a good production facility, but yeah. And that's basically and my business sucked when it first started. I was doing custom screen printing for groups, and couple jobs I had, we gave them to our customers. I had one friend that was kind of helping me, and they went through the wash and they just washed right out after I gave it to it. So that was very embarrassing and a terrible start. So I stuck with that for about 6 months. And then I just started falling in love with selling things online. I had this Notre Dame football account. I'm a big fan of Notre Dame football. That's my favorite team. That's kind of over near you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, it is. There's definitely worse than Notre Dame for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I had this Twitter account that had 60,000 followers, and I just would tweet on the game days. I don't know, I started doing it for fun, and it grew a big following. And so I had that audience. Then I just started selling them t-shirts, these Notre Dame t-shirts that I made a Shopify site for. And it was going great because this was it was one of the years they were pretty good. And that got taken down because copyright infringement. So I was over 2, but I fell in love with the idea of building up an audience and selling them products online.
Let me interject.
Go for it.
So when you had to take it down, I'm guessing it just was a letter that says, hey, copyright, take it down. It wasn't like you got in trouble, right?
No. I got to keep all the money, and it was a letter. And I got a couple of them. I kind of resisted for a little bit, but it was kind of after the season ended. It'd be one thing if I had a t-shirt store and one product was a Notre Dame shirt. I didn't use the logo. It was kind of gray area, It had Go Irish and stuff like that. But this whole site was Notre Dame football team. So I was all right, I don't think this business model is going to be sustainable because but it was a good start. And I remember I had $10,000 in sales selling t-shirts. And I thought I was Elon Musk with Mark Cuban. I felt amazing. Yeah, that jolt of just having my Shopify app on my phone and just checking it and seeing where the sales are and seeing the sales come in, go to bed, wake up and check it right away, see how many sales I got. I kind of just love the idea of doing it online, because before I would have to drive, deliver the shirts, call someone 5 times, and they would be trying to get the best prices. So I kind of like the instant gratification, and fell in love with that business model. We're straight to the consumer online, and through various other things, my now fiance got involved. She started getting girl products involved, and we found this niche of monograms. And that's where we are now. It's girls personalized initials on their clothing and stuff. And it's a huge trend in the South. But I always make fun of myself that I sell girls clothing. And I'm a lot of the times I'm the one who will write you'll look great in this pink shirt on Facebook ads and everything. So I found the niche there, and she does like the style side, and I do like the business side. That's kind of like the quick story of how I got where I am. But
It was all about finding that niche, and once you
yeah,
stayed with it, right?
right. And
You
it
didn't
was,
care what it was. You're just happy that you're selling shirts and just went with it.
and the niche made sense because before this, I was selling like a 4th of July t-shirt, tank tops. It was like USA, a site after the Notre Dame site. And that was going pretty good, but it was just so many people could compete with us because anyone could make like a shirt with George Washington on it. In this monogram niche, it was harder for other people to kind of compete because we built a business model of being able to like personalize them. And today we have it all automated. But yes, I just found a good business model, and I didn't have to do. I'm not good at like designing and making things like look great. And my fiance made it look all good and pink and girly. And so then I was like, ooh, so now I just have to do the business side. I get to do the ads and then figure out all our internal stuff and kind of work together that she could do kind of the look and I could do the business side. And yeah, it took a little ego hit, selling the girls' clothing. But hey, today I love our customers and we found a great niche. And yeah, I really just finding the niche. Once I found it, I was like, all right, we're going to stick with this for a while. And we've been growing ever since then. So.
And what's the age group of your customers?
It started off saying around like college age girls, but honestly, it's just females of all ages. I thought it was young girls, and then I saw our analytics, and I saw so many like 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds were buying it. So really, our niche is girls who love this monogram thing. Do you know like what monograms are?
So I did check out your website before.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to see what it was. And my daughter's 19. I think I had mentioned to you earlier that she goes to the College of Charleston.
That's right. She knows.
And Sean lives in Charleston. So
right.
Is that what you're saying? It's popular in the South?
Yeah. Like when we have Google Analytics up and it has a map of the country and it has little orange dots where everyone's like shopping. And the orange dots are always like right in the little circle of the southern states. And we've sold all 50 states, but it's just concentrated very much in the South because it's just we want to spread the trend across the country eventually.
So really, like the monograms, you asked if I knew what it was. My guess is it's the initials of somebody, and then you make them like fancy, right? Like
yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah, it's 3 letters, and your last name's in the middle because it's like the biggest letter.
Okay.
And that's what they are. And then usually they're embroidered like on the front left chest. But we actually, one of the things that we hit a home run with, and it was when we decided to go full time with the monogram business, was we created this thing called graphic monogram. So it's basically like designs, and like one says like coffee and lipstick, and it has a coffee cup. And inside the coffee cup, there's a circle, and the monogram's in there. So now we have the embroidery side and like the digital printed side, which opens up a lot of new products that we can offer, and seasonal, and Christmas, and Halloween, and all the holidays. We just had our big 4th of July sale end. So that is the kind of ingenuity we brought to the business. And everyone copies us now. All the other monogram sites and Etsy stores all have it. But yeah, so it's printed and embroidered. And the hard part for us now is just all the logistics of the operations, of getting them out and everything. But
so how has it grown? Like what's been your challenges? I'd imagine, I know when the sales go up like that, it's getting the right people in places and systems. I'd imagine, starting in your mom's basement, probably have systems you never even dreamed of. Now I would think, right?
Yeah, I basically, and you can probably relate to this. Like, I'm running like a factory now. Like, it's crazy to think about. I never really envisioned that, but there's so many logistics. We have like 14 employees, and all of them are. Whenever I tell people I have 14 or 15 employees, they're always thinking like everyone's just like working on products and ads and like all, pretty desk and like thinking of creative ideas. But all of my employees are shippers, embroiderers, printers, customer service. It's like labor workers. And, we have some turnover because the jobs are kind of just being on your feet, shipping packages all day. So it's managing the employees, making sure they're happy, making sure that they feel fulfilled and also do a good job. So yeah, we have a lot of logistics as far as how we print out the orders, send them to each department, batch them up, get them into the shipping room, and then the fastest way to do it in each department. So that's pretty much what I do on a daily basis is uh, handle the logistics. And it takes us like 12 to 15 days to get customers our orders. And that's so long in this day and age of Amazon and people getting stuff in like 2 days. But they know that it's personalized and that they expect for it to take a little bit longer. But that's our main problem right now. It's just been production. And the worst thing in the world is when we have to turn down the ads because we have to kind of stop because we're backed up in the operation. So that's the challenges that I'm dealing with today. But it took a little while to get to this level.
All's the juggle for sure.
Yeah. And at one point, a couple of years ago, I screwed it all up and I went like $3,000 in the hole and had to like fire half of my staff while I figured it out. So that was like the biggest challenge I've had since we began the business.
Were you doing monograms when that happened?
Yeah, when that happened, it's a rare problem for an entrepreneur. Like usually I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, they get started on something and their biggest problem is they don't have any sales. And that is the reason why their business like will succeed or not. For us, the holidays just passed and we had all these employees and I promised them, I'm like, I'm going to keep you guys on staff. And then it was January, February, and I kept our sales coming in. Our sales were doing great, but they weren't coming as easily. So what I did was I jacked up the ads and I was basically losing money to keep the revenue coming in. And I was like, I was justifying it to myself. Like, this is going to be fine. We're going to get more emails. We're going to get more customers. We're going to keep everyone busy. But every 2 months in a row, 3 months, I was losing money. And eventually it all just crashed on me. And it was the worst feeling in the world. I had debt everywhere. I just kept it like up with it. It was a house of cards. I kept it up for a few months. And eventually I had to bring a couple people in, like 6 people. And I was like, you guys did nothing wrong. I'm so sorry. This is the worst thing I've ever had to do, but I had to let them go. And it was crushing. And then for about 4 or 5 months, I said to buckle down. I had no money. Like every day I would wait for the money to come in from a few sales. And then that was around 9 o'clock in the morning. And then around 11, there'd be all this money coming out for like ads. And so between those 2 hours, I had to like shift money around to stay alive. And at the end of the day, the bank account would be negative. I'd be like, oh, all right, I just got to go to the next day. We even rented out our house on Air BnB to like get extra money and sleep at the office. So it was a humbling couple months. And it built a lot of grit. I'm proud that we fought through it, but the main thing was actually learn the metrics to run the business. What percentage of ad spend is healthy? How many per hour each department can do to get a certain level of production. So I like to say it was a blessing in disguise, but it was a low point for sure.
Well, I think when you go through something like that, then when something comes around like that you can't control, like say the last 3 months of a pandemic, it prepares you. You're like, you know what? I already went through something that was terrible. I know how to buckle down, because I think that's where businesses get in trouble right now. They didn't know how to buckle down. But if you've been through it before, the first thing you do probably middle of March was buckle down and say, okay, this is going to go, and then so take us through that. How did it go for you the last few months? Did you buckle down and then realize you were going to be okay? Is that kind of what happened? Or
I remember the one morning I was preparing. I was like, okay, I know I can get through tough times. And I was kind of preparing my company and getting in the mindset that these sales are all about to drop off. I don't know if we're going to have a mandatory shutdown. Like I was prepping for the worst. And I had been through it. So I was like, done it once. We're going to make it through this. I know every entrepreneur has a story with a virus, and we were very, very lucky. We stayed operational the whole time, and the post office, which I love the post office. Like a lot of people hate the post office. I love the post office. They stayed open, and then UPS, who delivers like our supplies and everything, they stayed open. And all our employees, we had them work in shifts, and they're kind of naturally social distance at our warehouse because the printer has their own station, a couple tables shaped off in an L, and they kind of have their own door, and each shipping has their own station. So we're naturally social distance. And then we had everybody work in shifts. Like we had some people come in the morning, we had some people come in the afternoon, and then we had some people come at night so that we could just not have people near each other. We were able to operate the whole time. South Carolina, where I am, like they shut down mandatory like haircuts and nail salons and restaurants. I was every day. I was like, we're gonna keep going until we see like a policeman at our door one day.
Yeah.
And nobody got sick. I think a lot of people were at home shopping, so our sales actually ended up going up, and we ended up hiring another person or two that got laid off to keep up with the production. So actually, right now, one of our best production people, the mom got the virus, and so he's staying out for 2 weeks. So it's kind of like picked up a little bit around here. So I don't want to act like we're home free.
Sure.
We just went out and got a bunch more supplies, but we were very lucky during the virus that we were able to operate, and we even saw a little increase in our revenue from people shopping online.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody had their phone in their hand for sure.
Right.
Can you take us through what I've always find interesting? What I want you to take us through is the ads that you're talking about. So where do you place the ads? How did you learn exactly how to perfect it? I would imagine with the sales that you have, that you feel like you have perfected the way you do your ads. Take us through that. I think it's super important.
So
yeah.
I learned how to perfect it by spending like $50,000 to $100,000 that was not getting the return that I needed. So that was how I learned. But,
okay.
But Facebook ad platform is incredible, and it's the only place that we spend our ad budget right now. Well, mostly the only place, because so Facebook, they also own Instagram. So basically, if you use the Facebook ad platform, you're getting Facebook and you're getting Instagram, and you can run an ad to both. And basically, important part of it, and one of the things we do well, is we get a lot of pictures. We have one of our employees who gets girls from the College of Charleston, and just kind of gets our products and then goes out like around town and takes pictures with them. So we have pretty girls wearing our products, so we have pictures. So that is probably the first most important part of a good ad, is having a picture that people like, and they see it and they're like, ooh, I want that. The next thing that we do is we really only run successful ads when we're having a promotion. So we're like always running promotions, and we're always running deals, and we're always saying, 3 more days in this deal. And on the final day, that's usually when we get the most of our sales, because we'll run a post and we'll say, less than 24 hours left to get 50% off plus free shipping, whatever it is. So just running promotions, finding the products our customers like, getting good pictures. And then in the ad platform, it's pretty simple. Like, we'll put a post on Facebook. Everyone knows how to do that. You go to your Facebook page, you post, you put a link in there, you put a little copy that, whatever it is, red, white, and monogram. Get your 4th of July outfit this year and look cute while celebrating the holiday. And then on the back end, it's really mostly Facebook that does all the heavy lifting. All we do now is, I used to put in like the state or the age range, but now I just put in the United States and I put in females only, and I really let Facebook learn. Like, if you start running a promotion and it starts doing well, and you can look at it and your ad spend, I always like to look for a 2.5 ROAS, which I think every business probably has a different return. But if I'm seeing that and I'm running it for about $100 a day, $200 a day, and that goes well, then I'll just jack it up to like $1,000 a day. And then that's usually when everything starts like just coming in. And now if I jack it up to $1,000 a day and it's not going well, I'll turn that down and put out something else. So it's a little bit of testing. And the other thing that they have that is amazing is it's called a lookalike audience. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. So what it is we take our email list, right? And say we have like 50,000 people on our email list. And we put it in, and we have it on like a CSV or like an Excel sheet, right? And we upload it to Facebook, and they take those names, those 50,000 people, they look up their profiles on Facebook, and then they pop out about 2 million people that have the same characteristics as those 50,000 people. So
wow.
Now you have 2 million people in this lookalike audience, and that's who you run the ad to. And they can also do the same thing with the traffic on your website. So they have a Facebook pixel, and it's really easy to get set up on your website. And if you get it set up on your website, then they track all the people that are on your website. So then you could take a lookalike audience of all the people that visited your website, and that's another audience that you can run ads to. And I'll even get it down to the level of we have a collection, for example, that is coffee themed. For some reason, we have a lot of coffee themed graphic monograms. If there's been everyone that's visited the coffee collection of all the different coffee shirts we have, you take those people and then you make a lookalike audience of them, and then you run an ad to them for a coffee t-shirt sale you're having. So Facebook is incredibly powerful as far as finding your customers. As long as, if you just uploaded like 2 people, I don't think they would be able to pop out good data. But if you have like 5,000, 10,000, the more people that you can put in, the better data that they will have to give you about 2 million other people that are very similar to them. And it's really kind of easy now that we got it streamlined. We just run the ads to these lookalike audiences, and they do well. We just jack it up, and then we get a bunch of sales during that promotion. I don't know. Does that kind of make sense? Like,
yeah, it does. I guess my question would be like, what about the geographic part of it? Like, for somebody like me with the restaurant, could I put in my 10,000 people on my email list and then say, hey, I want a lookalike audience in Pittsburgh? Like,
absolutely. It's like, I'm actually always been very interested and curious about running a campaign to like a local area, because it seems like it would be great. Because yes, you can do the exact same thing. You could even take, don't you have a few restaurants?
5, yes.
5, and they're in different, probably serve different areas, right?
They're probably like 20, maybe 10 to 20 miles apart, I would say. But they're all you can hit them all within like an hour circle, I would say,
okay.
Or 45.
Okay. So you could even do this. You could even take, say you had an email list for all 5 locations. You could take that email list or that customer list, or anyone who's visited any of your website. So all your customers from all the stores. And then you could put that into Facebook and create a lookalike audience. One lookalike audience that are people who like your product, your service, your pizza, your amazing pizza. And then you could take that audience and you could put it into a Facebook ad. From there, you could literally only serve the ad to a 5-mile, 10-mile radius of a specific store.
Wow.
And then you could, because then you'd have a wide customer base, but it's only going to serve it to people in whatever radius you want from that specific store. And then you would make that ad copy or that creative come down to this store at this location with that address. And it would be very specific to that store. That ad spend is probably going to be so well spent because it's only going to serve it up to people within that 10-mile radius. So it's never wasted, because you already know from the lookalike audience that they're interested in the pizza. And the other thing you could do is you could put people who like pizza, and then also in a 10-mile radius, because you could do that. And then you could test those 2 audiences against each other and just see which one is better performing, and then just go with that one.
I started Facebook ad marketing in 2012 is when I started. So I was way ahead of the curve. And way back then I called Facebook and was like, how do I do this? And they said, give us $1,500 for the month. And once a week I had somebody who hopped on my computer. We did like a Zoom call before a Zoom call, and we would share screen and they would walk me through how to do it. It still works today, but it definitely didn't work as well as it did, back then. But it almost sounds like maybe the reason that I would say it didn't work as well is that they actually have come up with new ideas that are actually better. Like when you're talking about, or putting the picture on my website, like, and that's what I always find interesting, because, I'll be on Facebook and I'm scrolling through and all of a sudden, a t-shirt, that 80s wrestling t-shirt pops up on my feed. And I didn't know I needed this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they know, they listen and everything. But it's definitely changed a lot since 2012 to today. It's always changing. I'm curious for your business. How would you track a conversion?
It was always hard to really tell the conversion, but what we would do is we would put out our draft list and we would have specials on Fridays. So we would say, hey, come in for this free mug with the purchase of this beer. We didn't advertise anywhere else. So we knew that when people were coming in asking for the free glass, that they were from Facebook.
Okay.
So we would do a lot of things that were just Facebook only. Like that was the only place we advertised.
And that was basically your way to track if it was successful.
Yeah, because it was like, or do events. Like I never really did too many, here's $3 off a pizza. I did more like, this is the special we're doing this week, or ask for this special pizza, or come in and this beer is going to be on tap from this time to that time. And we did a lot like that. And really what happened for me is when I started, I always say it was myself in the back, my wife up front, and one bartender. And then we started Facebook advertising. I needed 2 bartenders. Then I needed a hostess. Then I need 3. Then we had to build a room in the basement. And then we had to buy another store because it was all Facebook.
Really?
Because yeah, it really was. No doubt about it. What happened was for me, there was a thing in Pittsburgh called Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week.
Okay.
And what they did was they had 10,000 people on their Facebook, and I had about 800 on mine. So I paid the sponsorship because I wanted to be in craft beer. This is about 2013. And I saw for 1 week my sales doubled from them pushing it out that, hey, this is where you can go for a craft beer week. And I thought if I could get to 10,000 Facebook followers, I could double my sales. So that's when I got Facebook, and I just did everything I could to get those 10,000 followers. Now I think it's been a lot harder to get likes too in the last couple.
Yeah, you basically have to pay for likes now. Like run an ad to get likes. And here's the thing, that's the main thing that's changed on Facebook since 2012 to today. And a lot of people got pissed around, I think it was around 2014, was they stopped basically, if you had a million likes, they basically won't show your post to those people unless you pay. Like there was a switch at one point where people would post on Facebook, and this was before my time. I just heard about it in the history books. People would post on Facebook and they would get an organic reach. Like if you had 1 million likes, 1 million people approximately would see it if you made a post. Today we have like 320,000 likes on Facebook. And if we do a post, it'll get like 7 likes, like very little interaction. But then we put the ads on it, and then it like blows up. So they changed. They basically held everybody ransom and said, now you guys got to pay now. And a lot of people complained, but the people that started paying and didn't complain were the people who did really well. And I mean, it's worth it to pay if you're going to make money on the other end.
It is.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did, because I knew how much money I was spending on ads, is I started buying Facebook stock.
Nice. That probably has done well for you.
Yeah. So I said, well, at least I feel like I'm getting some of my money back, So, yeah, I mean, they've done a great job. I think they have done things like you're talking about. And I think the reason is so that they could build more money and more revenue.
They're just trying to make money. They're absolute dicks. Yeah. They're just trying to make money. But for one short period of time, our Facebook page was suspended for this like stupid reason. It got handled in a week, but I didn't have it for a week. So I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity to go not have my eggs in one basket and learn other platforms. I did Snapchat ads, Twitter ads, Google ads. They just don't do as well as Facebook ads. So like they have a lot of power in their ad platform and in their audience, and that's where we spend all our money. So they can be dicks about it, and they can kind of hold people for ransom. You can go somewhere else if you want, but now they own Instagram, so it's just crazy.
Well, that was my next question. How much do you focus solely on Facebook, or do you spend on Instagram as well too?
All right. So the Facebook ad platform, which is, do you know what, like, do you have that? Do you have, like the back end on Facebook?
Yep.
So that is linked to the Facebook and Instagram. So if we do an ad, or even if we do a post on the Facebook page or an Instagram post on the Instagram page, and you select that post and you put the audience you want and you run an ad for it, it will serve it to both places. You can choose if you only want it to serve to one place or the other. But like literally, like if you have a Facebook post, it'll have like 50 likes. And then on Instagram, it won't show up on your feed, but you'll have another post that has like a separate likes, and it's showing up on Instagram. So literally the same ad will show up on both places, and each one will have its own comments and its own likes and kind of its own little life, but it'll serve it to both places. And if you run like an actual ad where you go in and create an ad instead of a post, and you can put in like 4 sliding pictures or a video, and you can choose to serve it to Facebook and Instagram, it'll serve it to both. So if you like check on the performance of this ad, if you want to, you can break down and see how many sales came from Facebook, how many came from Instagram. Honestly, I don't even look at that anymore. I just look how many sales did it get overall, and I know that it's serving on both platforms. So they've really integrated that well between the two.
And how many followers do you have on Instagram?
We have like 133,000.
Wow. And would you say they're all organic for the most part?
Well, they're all real people. Yeah. Like we paid as far as we ran ads and that got it in front of other people's eyeballs,
Yep.
but they're real people. Yeah. We have a pretty engaged audience, and the main way we've grown it is just by running ads. Now, not running ads to get followers or likes, but just running ads to get sales. And a side advantage of that is that they also like the page. Yeah, that's been the main way that we've grown it. So I guess you could say they're organic people. Like, I know a lot of people like buy followers and they're like basically for vanity metrics, where it looks like you have a lot of followers. We never did any of that with United Monograms, but I guess technically we did kind of pay for them, even though the advantage is that they're real people that might buy our products.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yep, like all our followers that we've gained, they're the same thing. We gained them because we're spending money on ads, so that's how we got followers. And I think I don't know, those are the customers who spend money, so it makes sense. You're spending money. So the 50,000, the 100,000 that you said you wasted, what mistakes did you make in the beginning that you don't make anymore? Like, what were the big lessons?
This is actually a really big one. And if anyone listening does Facebook ads, this is the one thing that changed everything for me. And it's called manual bidding. But basically, right now, there's a budget. And you can put in your budget. And you put in $100 daily, say. And that's how much you want to spend on that app. And then I look at my return on ad spend, which I want to be 2.5. Now, if it's like 2.3, I might leave it running. But what I would do is all I would do would be put it up to 200, 300, 400. I would only use the daily budget. Now, you can go in and you can put a cap on it. So it's called a target cost, and it's a little on the bottom of the Facebook ad. So what I do is I put in a target cost of, say, $10 per purchase. And then what I do is I literally, if you go to my Facebook ads right now and you look at what my budget is for each ad, it's literally $1 million for each one. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to spend $1 million. That's just the max. It's the max amount that you put in. And they say they don't like when you do that, so you can put in like $50,000, whatever. The point is that you're saying get as many sales as you can get, spend $1 million if you can, but they have to be at this cost per conversion. So I was able to put in a cap. So if I had an ad and it was performing poorly, what I would do before, I would have it $400 a day and I would let it run and I would lose money on it. And now if I put that in, same ad, not a well-performing ad, and I have this cap on it, I'll go check it after 12 hours and it will only have spent $15. And now I'm like, okay, that ad is not resonating. That ad is a failing ad. But the difference between the two is one I spent $400 and one I spent $15. And both times I learned that it was a failure. And when I was spending $400, we were still getting orders. Like, we didn't get 0 orders. We got some orders, but we got orders that we still had to fulfill and send to the customer and buy the raw materials. But we did it losing money just on the ads alone. So then between the shipping and the actually buying the blank shirt and the labor, we were losing so much more because we already lost money on the ad. So like, we would still get like 100 sales or something, but I would spend so much money that I was like, if I spend less, then I get no sales. And if I spend more, then I'm losing money. So when I learned about this, it's called a bid, a cost per conversion, a target bid. It's down at the bottom. When I was able to put in, I want $9, $10 per conversion. And then I was able to have a bad performing ad that instead of losing me money, just wouldn't spend any money. So then I would be like, we have no sales. So I would go in and get a better ad, get that, and I'll run it for like $50. If I see that the cost per conversion is like $9, $10 and it's healthy, then I'll go in and I'll put it at $1 million, put the cap on it, and then I can just run it all day long. And if it's a dud, it's a dud and I don't lose any money. And if it's a hit, then I get a bunch of sales and they're all profitable sales. So learning that was the difference in me making profit and me losing a bunch of money. So that was huge.
And was it something learned, or was it something that you?
I don't even know how I learned it. I
lucky.
I'll give myself some credit because I was watching YouTube videos about Facebook ads, and like, what do I got to do? And somehow it like I heard about it before, and then I heard about it some other time, and it just kind of whizzed past my brain. And by me just digging in and like researching, at some point it just hit me at the right time. And I was like, ding, 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 like a light bulb went off. And I was like, oh, that's what that means. Because I had no idea what it meant. It was just like little gibberish at the bottom of the ad that I just like skipped over. Yeah, it just kind of like hit me one day. And it was a game changer. It was a game changer. Then I used it every ad for about 2 years. Now sometimes I have a good enough feel for it. Well, I'll have it on some. And then some I'll just run it at like 500 a day, but I keep an eye on it. So like now I do a mix of it. But that was huge for me. That was so important. So it's called manual bidding. Just if you Google it, you'll see where you can do it. But it is a very good way to run a lot of ads, not lose money, and then you learn which ones work. And that's an important thing too, just doing a lot of stuff and finding what hits home.
Like you said, that's how you got your niche of the monograms, like just from trying things out and seeing what works. And
yeah, I'm kind of a reckless idiot in a lot of ways, and and it's kind of my style, and it's worked for me. So I got to make sure that I'm smart as I make more decisions in the future. Yeah, I don't know if I advise that for everyone, but I don't know how else you can learn this stuff. And a lot of times people have a business plan, and it's just like a football team. You have your game plan going into the game, and then a couple plays happen, a couple hits, and you'll change your whole game plan. So it works for me to just kind of get going, get started, and figure it out along the way. Have you used that style of entrepreneurship at all? Or
100%. I mean, I always say, like, I don't think you need a business plan. I mean, I started with no money in my pocket. Like, it's just credit cards and, like, just, I was on a handshake. And I don't know, anytime I plan something, it takes longer to plan it, and it never turns out the way you plan it anyway. I just wing it. I just go for it. I get in there. I get dirty. I figure out what's going on. I adapt. I hate the word pivot. I like the word adapt way better.
I like it.
And I just move with it. And I think that's what you got to try and do. It's just, it's just part of being an entrepreneur is you have to eat. You have to, for me, I'm always like, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to win. And I just figure it out. And I think that's where you find that part of entrepreneurship that works. But going back to the very beginning with Think and Grow Rich, there's been a lot of times where I see my successes before they happen too. I try to think and feel it and live out where I want to be. I love when people talk about athletes, Olympic athletes, how they train to actually run the race in their mind first.
Yes.
The motor skills react when they actually do run the race. Like, I don't know, there's so much mental side to it. And, everybody goes through those really peaks and valleys. And like, when you're talking about how you were down and, how to let people go, like some people quit then, that a lot of people.
Exactly.
A lot of people quit then.
Most people, I think.
Most people quit then.
Yeah. Have you ever had a moment like that where like you were at a really down point, or like from going from one restaurant to 5 restaurants, that must have been like some crazy experiences, or how did that all happen?
We've had a lot of different things. We've had, times where it may look like we have a lot of sales going in, but, the cash flow is not there because we are spending, I market a lot. So, we spend a lot on marketing, or, we had things where we were doing things the wrong way because I've never done them before. And then somebody comes in and runs an audit, and you get slapped with something that you didn't really know you were doing wrong, but you kind of thought maybe, and then next thing you know, it sets you back a couple of years, and people would quit then. They would just give up, and I don't know. I just figure I'm going to learn from my mistakes. That's the way I always look at it. Like, I'm not perfect. I am going to make mistakes. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to make sure I don't do them again. And, we've run into just different things, and we have 200 employees. So we run into a lot of times.
Dang, 200 employees.
200. So there's a lot of times when somebody leaves you and they just weren't the right person for the job, and they feel a certain way. So they run you through the mud, and that turns out to be a huge thing. It goes viral, and, you got to come back from some of those things. I mean, we've had a lot of ups and downs. A lot of times the story will be, they see it and they say, boy, everything's been great, but behind the scenes, I don't think anyone's ever great. Even if you like the Elon Musk and stuff too, like they've had a lot of.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk lately about how tough like the restaurant business is in general. Like it's a thin margin business, right?
It is. I mean, people will see, you know, millions of dollars come through and they think, well, you got to be, you know, a millionaire because it costs, you know, $2 and you're selling it for 14, you know, you got to be, you've got millions stacked under your bed, you know, but the truth is, if you make 10% in the restaurant business, you're doing extremely well.
10%.
10%,
Wow.
extremely well, you know, and it could easily be 4, 5, and the difference between 10% and 5% is not much. Very, very little. When you start talking about your food cost was over 3% and then your labor was over 3%, there you're at. You just made 4% for the month.
Right, right.
Very, and that 3% of your labor is very, very, I mean, you got to watch it like crazy. And the food costs, you know, 1 extra ounce of cheese is $3 a pound. So 1 extra ounce of cheese on a pizza, on every single pizza, if you're selling thousands a week, like there goes your,
That's crazy. Yeah.
A lot of what I've done is teach my employees, like my general managers and my managers, teach them the numbers and what they mean. Teach them the labor, teach them the food costs. And I think in your business, I could hear what you were saying is you had to figure out what you really were spending on ads. How much can you spend on ads based off your sales? And that's kind of the thing we would do is, you know, if our prices aren't right, like if we're at maybe, we try to be at a 30% or less food cost. And if we're at 32 and we're trying everything we can, we're weighing cheese and everyone's using a scale, well, then you probably need to raise your prices, you know, and that's the other part that we've had to do a couple of times is, you know, we always raise our prices at least once a year. And sometimes that's what it is too. You can be doing everything you can inside, but you know, sometimes you gotta make sure you have the right price for your product. And everything you're talking about, that's what I like. What you're talking about, what I'm talking about, it goes across all platforms. It's not just pizzas or T-shirts. You know, the entrepreneurs who are successful all have a part where they were down in the dumps and thought, you know, is this really what I wanted? Is this what I want to be? You know, how am I going to pay anything? Like, I love how you said that you Air BnB'd your house out. Like, but you had to, you know?
It's like, had to, absolutely had to, And I think that is where, like you said it a few times, that's where most people quit. And and I feel like that's the moment where it's like, are you an entrepreneur or not? And if you can get over that point, like it's good for your character and it's good for your own psychological toughness and everything like that. But it's also so good for your business because that means if you get through it, that you learn some of those specific lessons for your business. Then if you can make it through, then you know those things going forward. You know how much cheese to put on each pizza and how much you can afford to pay people. So fight through it, people. If you're listening and you're in the dumps, keep going. Keep going.
And the other thing is you got to start somewhere. That's what I'm missing lately is you got to start somewhere. Don't let your past determine your future. Just start, you know, let it be. You start right in your mom's basement, right? Like,
right. It's easy to make excuses. You can always say it's not the right time. The economy's bad. I'll do it later. I'll quit my job in 6 weeks or something like that. Just put it off. Yeah, I say go all in.
So what's next for you? Where do you go from here? What's the
the next thing that we're really thinking about, which is a big step, is we're like running out of space in our current building that we're renting. So I've been looking around the area to try to find like a warehouse or a bigger building. I'm looking into the financing for that. I found a building I like, but basically it's going to be like a brand new big building, and it's going to be like way too big for us. And I might try to like rent some of the space out, but basically like just keeping that big vision going forward. I want to grow this company into like $100 million company, like maybe even more, because even if the Monograms hit a peak at some point, which some of our competitors are huge, so I know there's a big market for it. But we have the machines and the experience to maybe even have another brand, sell something else, like maybe get into personalized other things, open up another market. But I want to grow to be, that's my current goal. My vision is on being a $100 million company. And once I get there, then we'll see what the next vision is. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just about keep doing what I'm doing and expanding. Yeah, that's basically it. And it's hard. I just hired my first operations manager who is kind of in charge of all the employees, and it's hard to manage a manager. It's my first time doing that. You said you have a general manager at each store?
So I have a general manager at each store, and then I have a regional. I have a couple different regional positions. I have a regional office manager, regional marketing manager, regional beverage director, and then a regional chef who's really my regional district supervisor.
Okay. Wow.
So
That's an amazing structure. And like, so you really have gotten good at managing people, and like, you must have such great structure.
well, here's the key to our success. In the beginning, I knew everybody. I knew everybody who worked for me. So
Right.
everything was fine. They knew who I was. They knew my values. There was no question of who are they working for. And as we got bigger, it was really hard. So it got diluted because I didn't know everybody's. I still knew everybody's name, but I didn't really know what they had for breakfast. Like when I
How many people was that when you started to get diluted a little bit?
pretty good, like with 30 with 2 stores. Okay. And then when we got to the 3rd store, it was a little harder.
Right.
But then I would say around the 3rd store, around like 60 employees was pretty tough. And then so what I decided was my 35 managers that I have, that's going to be my core group that I know everything about those 35 guys. And really what changed us was I remember calling a good friend of mine who had 40 restaurants. And I said to him, I'm like, I'm struggling because they're starting to like wonder who I am and like what my values are, not really knowing, and he's like, look, Nick, you got to have meetings. You got to have meetings on top of meetings on top of meetings. And I was like, we do have meetings. He's like, when do you have meetings? Like, when's your next meeting? I was like, I don't know, when we schedule it. He's like, no, you have to put it. So here's what we have now. This is our structure.
Okay.
Every Monday at 8:00, we have a phone meeting. We have done a couple Zoom lately, but the guys seem like the GMs like the phone meeting. So we've done 8:00 every single Monday. No matter
that's you and your 35 managers.
No, us and our 6 general managers and our chef, and then my beverage director, my marketing director, and my office manager each have a selected, like the first week, the second week, and the third week of the month, they come on the call. Okay. So they know their turn, but every 8:00, every single Monday, we have the general managers and myself, and then one of the other regionals on the phone call. First Tuesday of every month, all 35 managers, usually in person. We have we do a nice lunch. We have a 3-hour meeting. We go over everything that has happened, gonna happen, new specials, everything. Third Tuesday of every month, all the upper managers, assistant managers, bar managers, and general managers, about 17 or so. And that is our planning meeting. That is, hey, we have some projects. We're going to give these 4 people to work on this project, these 5 people to work on this project. Let's talk as a company. What can we do better? Where do you guys want to go? We use it as like a round table discussion. So from there, that's really like 6 meetings a month that are in stone. And then if we try to really tell our general managers that they need to have meetings, so then they have store meetings, and they'll have a driver meeting, a front of the house meeting, a full store meeting, and they have those set in stone where they have those monthly. So the meetings has been the structure for us that work.
And that's been like really good for you?
For 3 years. And that's our best years of the company have been the last 2.5 years. And it's been since the meeting started. No doubt that communication's everything.
Absolutely.
I was going through that. I just started to like read communication books like crazy. I was like, I've got to try and figure out how we can communicate better. And a lot of it was the meetings, because when people feel like they're heard, they go ahead and they do their job at a high level. But when they feel like their voice isn't being heard, whether it's good or bad, they start to wonder why they work for the company, and and then the gossip starts, and then
that's dangerous. Yeah.
And then the other thing I would mention, my regional guys I talk to every day.
Okay.
I talk to my regional chef every day. I talk to my beverage director every day, my marketing director every day, and my office manager every day. I pick up the phone. That's like part of my duties every day is to pick up the phone and call them. Hey, what's going on? Real simple. What's going on? I listen, I talk, usually it's just talking through things. Okay, this is what you're working on. Sounds good. You need any help from me? Where are we at? Questions, comments. But that's the structure we have. And
that's great. That's so important. I get how like someone else is just like maybe cleaning the tables, like there's so many people up that it's like hard for them to get motivated. But when you put that in and then you tell the managers to have meetings with them, then it just allows everyone to like feel special, be heard, and like get what the company's all about. That's a good lesson for me as my company grows, to make sure that we're structure meetings. I do it once every 3 months when we meet with the team, but I might do it with like each department more often now because we hadn't met because of the virus.
Sure.
So like now I actually can sense it a little bit within my company that some of the people like need one. They need like a regroup.
They do. And I think what happens is you don't let anything fester. And
Right.
that's what's dangerous is when, you know, sometimes it's just the explanation of why you did something as a leader of the company, you know, and if you are able to give that explanation on day one when you make that decision, a lot of times it'll be easier and it doesn't fester. And then if you have a meeting to where anybody wants to voice a concern about it, you can kind of squash it right there.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's when you lead yourself to, you know, people, we always say, you know, we start every meeting with a couple different things, but one of them is, you know, don't shit in the pool, don't swim in the pool. We say that every meeting because what happens is we have 5 stores. You have somebody who picks up cheese at one store and drives it to the next, and then they start to tell all their store gossip at the next store, and then before you know it, when it finally gets back to somebody, it's very hurtful. And we've lost employees over gossip, and it's like, you know, yeah, you can't do that, and or whether it's a decision that we made as a company, and then the gossip gets back, or you know. So we've gotten really good at making sure that we're communicating the right things, and I think that's what's important to our growth for sure.
Gossip is really dangerous, huh?
It is. It really is, and it is too. Like when it's about you as a company or you as a leader or what you're doing. It's real easy when you do get successful too. People start to think like, if you buy this or you buy that as an owner, but you realize like, man, I put my place up for Air BnB when I had nothing. Like I reward myself now that I'm doing well, you know. But sometimes it's not really the explanation, but it's also like someone may feel like, well, why is he buying a new car when our printer here for the shirts is quitting 2 times a day? You know, the printer's not working. We could really use a new printer rather than a new car, you know, but you don't even know about the new printer because if you knew about it, you already bought a new one.
Right,
you know?
Right. And that's where the communication comes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, communication is somebody, you have a meeting, they say, hey, one of the questions we always ask, anything broke at your store?
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah, this is broke. And then you're like, all right, it's, you know, here's the phone call, it's fixed. But they also, I've gotten really good at saying, here's the number for anything that can go wrong in your store. General manager has the power to call and say, my cooler's broke, my sign's out, whatever it is, they can call. So it's not waiting on me to show up at a store once a week. Nice. And I'm like, how are your TVs working? Oh, they've been broke for 3 weeks. You know, it's like, no, like somebody's got to be in charge of calling to get them fixed, you know?
And you gave the power to that manager at that store to spend the money to get the things fixed. It's great.
And I give a cap, you know, hey, anything over $1,000, you know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Just let me know. And I like to know how things were fixed too, because that way, if that person isn't there next time and they come to fix a cooler or something, I can say, well, last time this is what happened.
And you can compare it with all the stores. Like, what's a good price for getting a cooler fixed? You probably have a good feel for that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's great. That corporate structure seems important. I hope I can get there one day, 200 employees. And,
it's
I think that's great advice and really important is how you communicate with the whole team.
Well, thank you so much for being on, Sean. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
Go to YouTube and type in the Sean Lowery Show. You find me there. That's how I put my podcast on YouTube, and that's my favorite spot. I like YouTube.
And what if they got some daughters or if there's some girls out there listening? Where can they find your product?
United-monograms.com, or just Google United Monograms, or just Google Monograms. We should show up there somewhere because our taglines were the #1 online shop for monograms. So United Monograms, check it out. Yeah, I'm sure your daughter in Charleston is around monogram stuff all the time. So
she was telling me like her one roommate lives like about a half hour from Charleston. She was telling me, she's like, she has everything monogrammed.
That's our customer, yep. And they keep coming back, which is great.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Keep that trend alive. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I've enjoyed the conversation.
All right. Thanks so much, Sean. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.